The first rule of galactic survival is simple: never underestimate a species that has survived its own self-destructive tendencies. Humanity wrote the manual on that particular skill set, which the Zarkon hegemony would learn in the most excruciating way possible. Outpost Meridian wasn't just another colonial settlement, it was a testament to human resilience, carved into the unforgiving landscape of a world that most spacefaring civilizations would have dismissed as uninhabitable. Nestled within a narrow valley between razor-sharp obsidian mountains and sprawling sulfuric plains, the settlement represented humanity's stubborn refusal to accept defeat. Michael Rodriguez was exactly the kind of child that embodied this spirit. At 10 years old, he was more at home in the harsh environment than most adults. His augmented reality glasses, a marvel of miniaturized quantum computing, were a birthday gift from his mother, carefully calibrated to not just record scientific data but to analyze it in real time. Most kids his age were playing virtual reality games or consuming pre-packaged entertainment. Michael was conducting geological surveys that would make most professional researchers look like amateurs. The day started like any other on Meridian. Twin suns, one a pale orange, the other a dim red, cast long shadows across the rocky terrain. The settlement's protective dome hummed with energy, a translucent barrier that kept out the planet's caustic atmosphere and occasional radiation storms. Michael had special clearance to work outside the dome, a privilege earned through years of demonstrated scientific discipline and survival training. He was tracking a series of crystalline formations that seemed to defy conventional geological understanding. The crystals shifted colors based on microscopic temperature variations, creating a living mosaic that would have been impossible on Earth. Each step was calculated, each movement precise medias. The result of military-grade survival training that was standard for children in frontier colonies. The Zarkon patrol ship appeared without warning. No communication, no identification beacon, just a sleek predatory vessel that dropped from the upper atmosphere like a hunting hawk. Most colonial defense systems would have triggered an immediate response, but this was a routine patrol zone, and the ship's energy signature initially matched standard reconnaissance patterns. By the time the settlement's AI realized something was wrong, it was too late. The plasma burst that killed Michael was clinical, almost bureaucratic in its precision. No massive explosion, no dramatic destruction, just a targeted molecular disruption that converted a living, breathing child into a fine carbon mist. The kind of kill that looked good in military reports. Clean, efficient, with minimal environmental contamination. What the Zarkon didn't understand, what they could never comprehend with their rigid hierarchical understanding of existence, was that they hadn't just killed a child, they had terminated the son of General Elena Rodriguez, a woman whose reputation in military circles made most alien species develop spontaneous anxiety disorders. Elena Rodriguez wasn't just a military leader, she was a strategic legend who had single-handedly negotiated humanity's survival during the Proxima conflict, a war that had threatened to exterminate the human species. She understood something that the Zarkon had forgotten: true power isn't about technological superiority. It's about the willingness to transform pain into calculated surgical vengeance. As Michael's body cooled on the rocky terrain of Meridian, his augmented reality glasses continued recording. The last few moments of data would become the spark that would ignite a conflict capable of reshaping galactic politics. The Zarkon had just made a fundamental mistake. They thought they were managing a population. They had no idea they were about to start a war. A war that would be remembered not for its scale but for its absolutely personal nature. The Rodriguez family wasn't just another military lineage, they were survivors, adapters, the kind of people who turned generational trauma into an art form of strategic resilience. Elena's story began long before her military career. It started with her grandparents, who survived the great ecological collapse of 2089 that nearly drove humanity to extinction. Elena's grandmother, Maria Rodriguez, had been a climate engineer who watched entire ecosystems collapse while governments played political games. She taught her children, and subsequently her grandchildren, that survival wasn't about hope. It was about ruthless adaptation, about seeing potential threats 3 moves ahead, and being willing to sacrifice comfort for strategic advantage. Born in the reconstructed megacity of New Santiago, Elena demonstrated extraordinary cognitive capabilities from childhood. Her early psychological profiles showed something military recruiters called hyperactive threat assessment, a fancy way of saying she could deconstruct complex scenarios faster than most supercomputers. By age 12, she was already designing tactical simulations that military analysts found disturbingly accurate. The Proxima conflict wasn't just a war, it was humanity's first true test against extraterrestrial civilizations that viewed humans as potential parasitic species. The Kral Confederacy, a massive interstellar collective of silicon-based lifeforms, had determined that human expansion represented an existential threat. Their initial strategy wasn't conquest, it was systematic elimination. Elena's breakthrough came during the Battle of Tau Ceti, where she was a junior tactical coordinator. While senior commanders argued about traditional engagement protocols, she recognized a fundamental weakness in the Kral's quantum communication network. In a move that would become legendary, she orchestrated a multidimensional communication hack that introduced a cascading logic virus into their entire strategic command structure. The result was beautiful in its surgical precision. The Kral didn't just lose a battle, their entire military hierarchy collapsed from within, with communication networks turning against themselves in a spectacular display of technological cannibalism. Elena was 26 years old. This wasn't just a military victory, it was a statement. Humanity wasn't going to be another footnote in galactic history, they were going to be the species that rewrote the rules of engagement. Her subsequent rise through military ranks was meteoric but never accidental. Each promotion, each strategic assignment was a calculated move. She didn't just lead troops, she redesigned entire military philosophies. Traditional human military doctrine emphasized overwhelming force. Elena's approach was different, precise intervention with maximum psychological impact. When Michael was born, Elena was already a 4-star general with more classified missions than most intelligence agencies combined. But something changed when she became a mother. Her strategic thinking didn't soften. If anything, it became more refined, more personal. Michael wasn't just a child, he was a project, a potential future strategic asset. From the moment he could understand language, Elena was teaching him systems thinking, not through traditional education, but through intricate games, complex problem-solving scenarios, and hands-on scientific exploration. She knew the galaxy was changing, humanity's position was precarious. Earth had become less a singular planet and more a complex network of colonies, each representing a potential front in future conflicts. Michael was being raised to understand this complexity, to see beyond immediate challenges and recognize long-term strategic patterns. The augmented reality glasses weren't just a gift, they were a sophisticated learning tool, custom designed to expand cognitive capabilities while gathering environmental data. Every rock Michael examined, every geological formation he studied, was part of a broader educational strategy. What the Zarkon didn't understand, what no alien civilization could comprehend, was that killing Michael wasn't just an act of violence, it was an invitation to a very specific type of war. A war where the opponent would not just respond, but would systematically deconstruct their entire civilization's ability to exist. Elena Rodriguez didn't just mourn, she prepared, and preparation for her was a form of art that would make entire galactic civilizations tremble. The first 48 hours after Michael's death were a study in controlled fury. Most people would have been consumed by grief. Elena Rodriguez transformed grief into a precision instrument of destruction. Her first action wasn't emotional, it was strategic. Within moments of receiving the initial report, she activated a classified communication protocol known internally as Obsidian Silence. A communication network so secure that even discussing its existence was a capital offense in most human colonies. The network comprised quantum-encrypted channels that could transmit information faster than light, using entangled particle communication developed during the early days of interstellar exploration. The communication went out to specific individuals, not military commanders, not political leaders, but a carefully curated network of specialists who existed in the shadows of human infrastructure. These were people who didn't officially exist: hackers, xenobiological experts, rogue AI developers, individuals who had been recruited over decades, each selected for their unique combination of skills and absolute loyalty to humanity's long-term survival. Dr. Marcus Reyes, a xenobiological warfare specialist stationed on Europa's Deep Research Facility, was the first to receive the detailed transmission. His specialization wasn't just understanding alien biology, it was weaponizing that understanding in ways that would make most ethical review boards spontaneously combust. Target Zarkon hegemony, the encrypted message read. Objective: complete systemic deconstruction. Priority, maximum prejudice. Reyes didn't need additional context. He had worked with Elena Rodriguez before, during the Proxima conflict. He understood that maximum prejudice wasn't just a military term, it was a philosophical approach to conflict resolution. Simultaneously, in a heavily shielded communication hub beneath the Atacama Desert, a team of AI specialists began breaking down the last transmission from Michael's augmented reality glasses. The device had continued recording even after his molecular disruption, a testament to human engineering that bordered on the miraculous. What they discovered was far more than just a geological survey. Michael's glasses had captured something the Zarkon patrol ship believed was inconsequential, a complete quantum-level scan of the patrol vessel's communication protocols, every system frequency, every backup communication channel, every potential routing mechanism. This wasn't just data, this was a complete blueprint for systematic infiltration. Elena's preparation went beyond traditional military response. She wasn't interested in a conventional war. Conventional wars had winners and losers. She wanted something more comprehensive, a complete systemic collapse of the Zarkon hegemony's ability to function as a civilization. The strike team she began assembling was nothing like traditional military units. These were specialists so refined in their skills that they made special forces look like kindergarten volunteers. A quantum communication expert who could rewrite alien communication protocols in real time. A xenopsychological warfare strategist who understood how to deconstruct an entire civilization's psychological infrastructure. A genetic manipulation expert who could design targeted biological interventions that would make viral infections look like mild inconveniences. Each team member was selected not just for their technical skills but for their personal motivation. Many had lost family members during previous extraterrestrial conflicts. Many understood that this wasn't just a mission of revenge, it was a mission of preventing future atrocities. The Zarkon thought they had executed a simple population management protocol. They had no idea they had just triggered a response that would be studied in military academies for centuries. Elena's preparation was methodical, cold, calculated. She was going to make the Zarkon understand a fundamental truth about humanity. We don't just fight wars, we systematically deconstruct civilizations that threaten our existence. And we do it with a smile. The first strike wasn't a military attack. It was a systemic deconstruction that would make economic warfare look like a child's playground game. Dr. Marcus Reyes had spent the previous week developing what the team internally called the Quantum Cascade, a weaponized information system designed to infiltrate and systematically destabilize the Zarkon hegemony's economic infrastructure. This wasn't simple hacking. This was a comprehensive biological digital hybrid attack that would make previous cyber warfare look like amateur hour. The Zarkon economy was built on a complex network of interstellar resource trading, with a hierarchical system that valued efficiency over resilience. They had spent millennia optimizing their economic models, believing they had created the perfect system of resource allocation and distribution. Their fundamental mistake was assuming that optimization meant invulnerability. Reyes' quantum cascade introduced microscopic vulnerabilities that would spread like a mathematical virus. Each infiltration point was carefully designed to create a cascading failure that would look to any external observer like a natural economic fluctuation. Stock equivalent markets would experience minute destabilizations. Trade routes would suddenly become marginally less efficient. Supply chain algorithms would start making imperceptibly suboptimal decisions. The genius was in the subtlety. These weren't dramatic crashes. These were slow, progressive systemic failures that would take months to fully manifest. Simultaneously, Elena activated the second phase of her response. The human colonies had been collecting xenobiological data for decades, meticulously studying the physiological and psychological characteristics of various alien civilizations. The Zarkon were silicon-based lifeforms with a complex neural network that relied on specific quantum communication frequencies. Dr. Amani Khan, the team's xenopsychological warfare specialist, had developed a communication virus that was nothing short of technological poetry. It would be transmitted through the same quantum communication channels the Zarkon used for their most secure transmissions. The virus didn't just disrupt communication, it introduced subtle cognitive dissonance. Imagine a communication network where every 10th transmission carried a microscopic contradiction, not an obvious error, Just a slight, almost imperceptible deviation that would gradually erode trust within their hierarchical system. Military commanders would receive orders with infinitesimal inconsistencies. Bureaucratic directives would contain subtle logical contradictions. The psychological impact would be devastating. The Zarkon's entire civilization was built on the assumption of perfect logical communication. By introducing microscopic imperfections, Elena's team would trigger a systematic breakdown of their social and administrative infrastructure. Lena Rodriguez understood something fundamental about conflict that most military strategists missed. True warfare isn't about destruction. It's about systematic deconstruction. The first physical manifestation of their response came through what appeared to be a routine diplomatic communication. A standard transmission requesting clarification about the incident on Outpost Meridian. The communication was so perfectly constructed, so meticulously crafted, that it would trigger multiple verification protocols within the Zarkon bureaucratic system. Each verification would activate another layer of the infiltration strategy. What made this approach so brilliant was its multidimensional nature. This wasn't just a military response. This was a comprehensive surgical intervention designed to dismantle an entire civilization's ability to function. The Zarkon would soon learn a fundamental truth about humanity. We don't just fight wars, we deconstruct entire systems of existence with the same methodical precision that a surgeon would use to remove a tumor, and we do it with a smile. The first wave of the counterattack had begun, and not a single missile had been fired. The Zarkon never saw the true nature of their defeat coming, and that was precisely how Elena Rodriguez had designed it. By the time the first physical confrontation began, the Zarkon's internal systems were already compromised beyond recovery. Their quantum communication networks had been systematically destabilized. Their economic infrastructure was collapsing from within. Their military command structures were experiencing cascading communication failures that would make their coordination impossible. The confrontation site was carefully chosen, the Epsilon Quadrant's neutral zone, a region of space that had been a diplomatic buffer for centuries. It was neutral only in name. In reality, it was a complex web of strategic positioning that most civilizations understood implicitly. The Zarkon assembled what they believed was an overwhelming force. 17 primary battleships, 47 support vessels, each equipped with technologies that had systematically dominated lesser civilizations for millennia. Quantum disruption cannons, molecular destabilization fields, predictive engagement algorithms that could calculate potential conflict scenarios faster than most species could comprehend. What they didn't realize was that every single one of those technologies had already been comprehensively analyzed and neutralized before the first ship arrived. Elena's strike team wasn't a traditional military unit. It was a precision instrument of systematic deconstruction. The primary vessel Microscope Michael's Requiem looked almost inconsequential compared to the Zarkon fleet, a sleek minimalist design that betrayed none of its true capabilities. Dr. Marcus Reyes had spent months developing what the team called the Quantum Cascade Resonance Weapon, a technology so advanced it bordered on being indistinguishable from magic. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a comprehensive systems destabilization protocol that would transform the very fundamental communication and operational capabilities of an entire civilization. The first wave of Zarkon attacks seemed on the surface devastatingly effective. Quantum disruption cannons fired. Molecular destabilization fields expanded. Their predictive algorithms calculated thousands of potential engagement scenarios per microsecond. But each of those attacks was already pre-mapped, pre-understood, pre-neutralized. The Michael's Requiem didn't just defend, it absorbed. Every attack became additional data, additional computational power. The ship's quantum computing systems were so advanced that they were literally converting enemy attack algorithms into additional defensive and offensive capabilities in real time. The Zarkon Grand Admiral, a being who had systematically conquered 12 different civilizations, realized something was wrong approximately 17 minutes into the engagement. By then it was far too late. Their ships weren't just being defeated, they were being comprehensively deconstructed, not just physically, but systemically. Communication networks began failing, quantum alignment systems began producing random nonsensical outputs, Entire battleship sections were experiencing simultaneous, mathematically impossible computational failures. Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Michael's Requiem, watching the systematic deconstruction with a calm that would have terrified anyone who truly understood her. This wasn't just revenge. This was a mathematical proof of humanity's potential. Each destroyed Zarkon vessel wasn't just a military victory. It was a message. A statement about the nature of human adaptation, human resilience, human strategic thinking. The final moment of the confrontation wasn't dramatic. It was clinical. Precise. The last Zarkon command vessel experienced a complete systemic collapse that would have been beautiful if it weren't so absolutely devastating. No dramatic explosions. No traditional space battle theatrics. Just a comprehensive systematic elimination that would be studied in military academies for generations. The Zarkon had killed a child, believing it was a simple population management protocol. They had no idea they had just triggered humanity's most comprehensive and ruthless response. And they would never make that mistake again. The aftermath of the Zarkon conflict wasn't just a military victory. It was a fundamental recalibration of galactic power dynamics that would be studied by xenopolitical historians for centuries. In the weeks following the systematic deconstruction of the Zarkon hegemony, communication transcripts would reveal something far more profound than a simple act of revenge. What Elena Rodriguez had accomplished was nothing short of a complete paradigm shift in interstellar conflict resolution. The United Human Colonies Diplomatic Corps MACE, a group traditionally known for bureaucratic caution, found themselves in an unprecedented position. They weren't managing the fallout of a war, they were managing the complete dismantling of an entire civilization's infrastructure. Dr. Amani Khan's xenopsychological analysis revealed something extraordinary. The Zarkon weren't just defeated, they were comprehensively deconstructed at a systemic level that went beyond military engagement. Their entire societal infrastructure had been so thoroughly compromised that reconstruction wasn't just difficult, it was mathematically impossible. Intelligence reports suggested that the quantum cascade resonance weapon developed by Dr. Marcus Reyes had introduced such fundamental contradictions into the Zarkon's communication and decision-making networks that their civilization would require complete systemic reboot. And that was assuming they could even understand the nature of their own collapse. Elena Rodriguez became something more than a military leader in those moments. She became a symbol, a warning, a living demonstration of humanity's potential when pushed beyond conventional boundaries. The other galactic civilizations watched, and they understood a fundamental truth that would reshape interstellar diplomacy forever. Humanity was not a species to be casually threatened. During a classified debriefing, Elena's only statement was brutally simple: "You killed my child." The mathematical consequence of that action was always going to be total systemic elimination. The psychological profile submitted by the diplomatic corps noted something interesting. This wasn't rage. This wasn't even traditional revenge. This was a calculated, mathematically precise response that treated an entire civilization as nothing more than a complex system to be systematically dismantled. Michael Rodriguez meant the child whose death triggered this response became more than a victim. He became a turning point in human interstellar history. His augmented reality glasses, the very technology that captured the initial attack, would be preserved in the Museum of Interstellar Conflict as a testament to human technological and strategic capabilities. Xenobiological research teams would spend decades studying the methodology of the attack. How does a species transform personal loss into a comprehensive strategic response? How does grief become a precision instrument of systemic deconstruction? The answer, they would discover, was uniquely human. Other alien civilizations began reassessing their understanding of humanity. No longer were humans seen as a young, volatile species. They were recognized as a civilization capable of responding to threats with a level of strategic complexity that bordered on the incomprehensible. The Zarkon hegemony ceased to exist as a functional civilization, not through traditional warfare, not through diplomatic intervention, but through a response so precisely calibrated that it was less an act of war and more a mathematical proof of human potential. Elena Rodriguez never spoke publicly about the incident. She didn't need to. The message was clear: harm a human child, threaten human colonies, and the response will be so comprehensively devastating that the very concept of your civilization's existence will be mathematically erased. In the vast cold mathematics of the universe, Humanity had just proven something fundamental. We don't just survive. We adapt. We respond. And we do so with a precision that makes other civilizations tremble. Michael Rodriguez, one child, an entire civilization's complete systemic elimination. A very human response.